Hello, everybody. How are you? Today we are going to begin our first lesson of 12th week. Okay, and today and in my next few lessons, I would like to talk about Turkey's most famous palaces and castles. And I'm going to begin with a short version of Topkapı Palace, and then I will talk about Dolmabahce Palace, Beylerbeyi Palace, and so on. Okay. Okay, it's going to be short, not very long, because we have seen it before. We have studied this palace. Well, the Topkapı Palace is a large museum in the east of the Fatih district of Istanbul in Turkey. In the 15th and 16th centuries, it served as the main residence and administrative headquarters of Ottoman sultans. Construction was ordered by the Sultan Mehmet the Conqueror, and it began in 1459, 6 years after the conquest of Constantinople. Topkapı was originally called the New Palace, Yeni Saray, to distinguish it from the Eski Saray, or Saray-ı Atiki Amire in Beyazıt Square. It was given the name Topkapı, meaning Cannon Gate, in the 19th century. And this complex expanded over the centuries with major renovations after the 1509 earthquake and the 1665 fire. And the palace complex consists of 4 main courtyards and many smaller buildings. And the female members of the Sultan's family lived in the harem, and leading state officials, including the Grand Vizier, held meetings in the Imperial Council building. After the 17th century, Topkapı gradually lost its importance. The sultans of that period preferred to spend more time in their new palaces along the Bosphorus. In 1856, Sultan Abdülmecit I decided to move the court to the newly built Dolmabahce Palace. Topkapı retained some of its functions, including the imperial treasury, library, and mint. And after the end of the Ottoman Empire in 1923, a government decree dated April the 3rd, 1924, transformed Topkapı into a museum. Turkey's Ministry of Culture and Tourism now administers here the Topkapı Palace Museum. The palace complex has hundreds of rooms and chambers, but only the most important ones are accessible to the public, including the Ottoman Imperial Harem and the treasury called Hazine, where the spoonmaker's diamond and the Topkapı dagger are on display. The museum collection also includes Ottoman clothing, weapons, armor, miniatures, religious relics, and illuminated manuscripts such as the Topkapı manuscript. Officials of the ministry, as well as armed guards of the Turkish military, guard the complex, and the Topkapı Palace forms a part of the historic areas of Istanbul, a group of sites in Istanbul that UNESCO recognized as a World Heritage Site in 1985. Yes, that's all for Topkapı Palace. As I said, we studied it before with you, so I'm just going to pass it to Dolmabahce Palace. Okay. The Dolmabahce Palace is located along the European shore of the Bosphorus Strait. Originally, there was a shallow bay where the Ottoman fleet used to enter their ships. After the 17th century, the coast was filled in and converted into a nice garden with a couple of pavilions named as Beşiktaş Waterfront Palace Complex, where the sultans used to relax and enjoying their views. By the way, Dolmabahce literally means field garden in Turkish language. In 1843, Sultan Abdülmecit I ordered to build a new palace, taking away these old buildings, and imperial architects Garabet and Nikogos Balyan finished the construction in 1856. Dolmabahce was used as a secondary palace by the successor of Abdülmecit after his death. It became a winter residence. Meanwhile, Beylerbeyi Palace was used as the summer residence. Only after two sultans, the imperial family moved back to the Dolmabahce with Sultan Mehmet V and lived there until the proclamation of the Republic at the end of War of Liberation. The parliament decided to use Dolmabahce as a presidential palace. Thus, Atatürk stayed and received foreign guests here during his visits to Istanbul. He died in Dolmabahce Palace on the 10th of November 1938, and later on this palace was converted into a museum in 1952. With over 110,000 square meters of construction on 250,000 square meters of land, it sure is an impressive palace on the Bosphorus. The palace is consisted of three main sections: administrative apartments, in Turkish it's Selamlık or Mabeyni Hümayun, ceremonial hall, Muayyede Salonu, and imperial harem, Harem-i Hümayun. While the impressive ceremonial hall was built between other two sections, where the Sultan received his important guests and foreign statesmen. Besides the main palace, there are several other buildings in the complex, such as imperial kitchens, crown prince rooms, Veliaht Dairesi, barracks, stables, pharmacy, flour mill, aviary, kuşluk, glass manufactory, foundry, plant house, fidelik, greenhouse, carpet workshop, clock tower, etc. Many small buildings, yes. Some of these smaller buildings were destroyed or demolished during the years. And there are two monumental gates giving access to the main garden, but only one is open today of the administrative part. Treasury Gate, Hazine Kapısı, and Imperial Gate, Saltanat Kapısı. The Mabeyni Hümayun state apartments is the most important section in terms of function and splendor. There is a large hall at the entrance, a crystal staircase, and other decorative elements to impress the visitors. A couple of large halls upstairs, decorated with hereke carpets, crystal chandeliers, and fireplaces, and a fine imperial hammam decorated with Egyptian alabaster are other impressive parts of the Selamlık section. Well, the ceremonial hall is a large square hall of monumental proportions, over 2,000 square meters of area, and 36 meters high ceiling. Wow, it's really huge. It is decorated with a huge hereke carpet and a 4.5 tons of crystal chandelier, which was sent by Queen Victoria. Important state and religious ceremonies were held here. Upper galleries were used by foreign ambassadors invited to the religious ceremonies, but also by the orchestra at special occasions. Women weren't allowed in the ceremonies, so they watched it from the windows of a long corridor connecting the Selamlık with the harem, passing just above the ceremonial hall. During the winter, the hall was heated with the hot air blown from the heating system at the bottom of 56 tall columns, and it took them about 3 days to heat the hall properly before any ceremony. Well, the harem was connected to the Selamlık section by a long corridor, which was guarded all the time to make sure that nobody passes. It was strictly prohibited by any man to go in, except the Sultan himself and, of course, the eunuch servants. The harem section is formed by several rooms, baths, and halls. There were suites of the Sultan, quarter of the Queen Mother, Valide Sultan, rooms for official wives, favorites, gözdeler, and concubines, cariyeler, and some education rooms for the young children of the Sultan. Just next to the harem section, there was the palace of the Crown Prince. Yani Veliaht Prens'in sarayı. Dolmabahce Palace rises on 2 floors above a basement. Local stone and some marble was used in its outer walls, brick in the inner walls, and parquet wood on the floors. It has a European design with neo-Baroque style, typical of the Ottoman tradition of the mid-19th century. Even the interior furniture is of typical Western design, with the exception of the plan, traditional Turkish house, a symmetrical plan, and Turkish rugs. Electricity and central heating system was introduced around 1910. The palace has 285 rooms, 46 reception halls, wow, and galleries, 6 Turkish baths, hammams, and 68 toilets. There are over 600 oil paintings also. Now, just outside of the palace, Dolmabahce Mosque, or Bezmi Alem Valide Sultan Mosque, was built at the same time, and the clock tower was built a short while afterwards. Admission to Dolmabahce Palace is charged in Turkish lira, and children up to 6 years are free of charge. And there are also some charges for smaller exhibitions and kiosks in the palace grounds. You are not allowed to take any photos or film inside the palace buildings. The visit is based on a guided tour, usually every 10 to 15 minutes. And during your visit, you can relax in one of the several cafes on the grounds of the museum. Okay, that's it for Dolmabahce Palace, ladies and gentlemen. Now I would like to talk about Beylerbeyi Palace, Beylerbeyi Sarayı. Okay, the summer residence. Beylerbeyi Palace summer residence of the Sultans is located at Beylerbeyi neighborhood of the Aegean shore of the Bosphorus. It was ordered by the Sultan Abdulaziz and built between 1861 to 1865 by head architects Sarkis Balyan and Agop Balyan, imperial architects of Ottoman Empire. And it was built in French neo-Baroque style with a traditional Ottoman house plan, just as Dolmabahce Palace. Important foreign guests visiting the Ottoman Empire were accommodated in this palace during the summer months. For example, Prince of Serbia, King Nicholas of Montenegro, Emperor Joseph of Austria-Hungary, Shah Nasireddin of Iran, Prince Oscar of Sweden, and Empress Eugenie of France were some of them. Sultan Abdülhamit II spent the last 6 years of his life and died here in 1918. Meanwhile, other sultans ruled in the Dolmabahce Palace during winter months and came here only for the summer for a nice climate. The palace has a rectangular plan with the long side facing the Bosphorus. There are 6 large halls and 24 rooms on 2 floors raised on a service basement, which was originally used as a kitchen and storage. The palace is divided into men's section, selamlık, and women's section, harem, having separate entrances for both. The selamlık was used for state functions, therefore it was very ornate. Meanwhile, the harem was reserved only to the ladies and with a simple decoration. Okay, I will continue to talk about Beylerbeyi Palace in our second lesson. That's it for our first lesson. I'm going to finish it now, and take good care of yourselves. I'll see you in our second video of this week, okay? Take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye. See you.